Okay. Now, continuing on from my last video. Uh, I said I was going to talk about the Doomsday Steel Cage match. Now, in order to really get a grasp on that, we have to take a step back to really what it's going to be coming up in future videos that I'm going to talk about. But WCW in I want to say 95, came out with a pay-per-view called Uncensored. Now, for that, they promoted it as it being like the most out of control, just anything can happen, anything goes night. Pretty much what this was, it was supposed to be like every match was going to be no holds barred. Every match was going to have no rules. There was going to be nothing. There was going to be no DQ, no count out. It was pretty much going to be ECW. And I recently watched this pay-per-view. It was on WWE Classics on Demand. And yeah. Okay. I'll just start from the beginning. The very first match on Uncensored, 95, their very first pay-per-view, the very first Uncensored pay-per-view, I'm sorry, was a King of the Road match between Dustin Rhodes, who is Goldust, against the Blacktop Bully, who was, God, how many characters was he? Barry Darso is the guy, but he was Smash of Demolition, he was Repo Man, he was Crusher Khrushchev in the NWA. I think he was even like a golfer in WCW. I think he was called I forget. Barry. Went under the name Barry Darso, but no, he was the Blacktop Bully now. Now, the concept of this match, you would think, it's a street fight or, just a regular match. No, this was a King of the Road match in which the two fought on the back of a flatbed truck, like a tractor trailer with a flatbed. Now you would think, okay, they're gonna fight on this thing, and okay, it's just gonna be sitting in a parking lot somewhere, and they're just gonna beat the shit out of each other. And this, one would think that, but no. WCW thought, we can top this. Let's make it a match where the truck is literally driving down the street and they're fighting on the back of this truck with hay bales and water troughs and like chicken wire all over the place. Okay. You're the WCW guy. Creative board back in 95, and you're surrounded by all the writers and everybody. Like, okay, we need to think of a match for Dustin Rhodes and the Blacktop Bully. And you think, okay, like street fight, like I just said, but no, we need to go absolutely extreme here. I want you to think of the dumbest possible concept you could think of. Like, okay, all right. Scratch all that I just said. That's probably what it was. They probably was like, okay, write down every concept we can have for a match. And one of them looked at this piece of paper like, what's a King of the Road match? Like, oh, well, you put these guys on a moving vehicle and they have to fight. And they say, well, that's just stupid. Can you imagine the lawsuits we would have to go through if something were to happen in that match? No, we are not doing this. And so, I can only assume that they were thinking, okay, we need a match for Dustin and the Blacktop Bully. Like, hey, wait a minute. Didn't Steve over there have an idea for that King of the Road match? That sounds pretty cool. Like, we need matches that are extreme and different and would fit this uncensored pay-per-view. Like, okay, Steve, we're using your idea now, buddy. Yeah! So, they put these two guys in this flat bed trailer. Like I said, they have hay bales everywhere. And the object of this match is to reach the cab of the truck and blow this air horn. And that would signal the winner. Now, throughout this entire match, they're just basically punching and kicking and shoving each other to try and race up to get to this air horn. And as they're doing this, they keep cutting to a helicopter shot. And I remember Tony Schiavone saying, like, we're getting a bird's eye view from the WCW helicopter. Wow. It's no wonder that WCW went bankrupt. If they had a helicopter on their payroll, because helicopters aren't cheap, and you'd have to have a pilot for that. Either way, the match itself was just a complete turd. It was unreal. So, I think the Blacktop Bully, he won it. Who cares, right? Who really gives a shit? Because it was a stupid match. So, the other matches that they had, let me think. They had three really stupid ones right off the bat. The next match they had was, I believe it was the martial arts match between Johnny B. Oh no, I'm sorry, not Johnny. That's the next match. It was Hacksaw Jim Duggan against Ming in a martial arts match. Okay, let's go back to the WCW writing room again. And they're thinking, okay, we need a match with Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, and Ming. And they think, okay, Ming knows, they say for years he's the master of the martial arts, and, you know, that's one thing. Okay. So, what about Hacksaw? What can he do? Well, we'll just have a martial arts match. Okay, we'll go with that. Apparently they forgot about the fact that Hacksaw Jim Duggan, even in his prime, was not a very competent wrestler. He was mostly a brawler. Was always kind of billed as a simpleton. And barely had any type of... He had no martial arts training. I'll tell you that much for a goddamn fact. So let's put him in a match that has nothing to do with him. Nothing to do with anything about this character. Did Hacksaw Jim Duggan even once go to a dojo to learn this shit? Did he even learn any type of martial arts moves? No, not at all. They never even explain what a martial arts match is. So we get to the match. They have a special referee. It's actually Sonny Ono, who would become a manager in WCW. And they bring Ming out, and he's dressed up in like his karate gear. And Jim Duggan comes out in like jeans and a t-shirt, and he's like, I forgot my dojo pants, apparently. And for the next 15 minutes, easy, they go through this bullshit wasting time antics where Ming is bowing towards the referee, and Jim Duggan's like, fuck that, I ain't bowing to you. You're Japanese. I don't bow to you. I'm an American. It made no sense, because this is the good guy. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is the good guy. He's playing the good guy. You know, he's supposed to be the paragon of goodness, because that's what good guys do. They follow the rules. They don't cheat. They follow the rules. Who cares if he was Japanese? That just makes Hacksaw Jim Duggan look like a bigoted prick. Like, I'm not bowing to you. Fuck you. You're not even from this country. Why the hell should I bow to you? You're wearing pajamas, for God's sakes. So, yeah, for 15 minutes they do this shit. And they finally get to the match. And guess what? They don't even know what the fuck a martial arts match is either. So, you know what a martial arts match is? It's essentially a match with no disqualification. Because that's what it turns into. It just turns into a no DQ match. And guess what? Ming wins. He fucking sidekicks Duggan in his stupid head, knocks him the hell out, and pins him. There's your martial arts match. I hope you enjoyed it, because we had no clue how to do this. This is another thing. Just the promoting in WCW. Just the fact that these matches, almost all of their matches, you had no clue what the hell they were doing. It's almost like they had this wheel, like the Wheel of Fortune wheel, and like they had 3 of them. They had, okay, like we have three wheels. We have the good guys on this wheel, the bad guys on this wheel, and then we have the matches on this wheel. And we're gonna spin all 3 of these wheels, and we're gonna get our match for the night. And so they spin it, and they say, okay, Jim Duggan and Ming in a martial arts match. Okay? What's a martial arts match? Why the hell are you thinking this shit up? How dare you question this? Just do it. Just get them out there. Ming's a martial artist. They'll figure it out. And the next match was even better. That was the Johnny B. Bad, who was Mark Marrow, and Arn Anderson in a boxer versus wrestler match. Okay. This one had... Okay. Johnny B. Bad was going to be the boxer in this match. And he had promised that he was only going to use boxing. Like, that was it. He was straight up boxer. He wouldn't be able to use wrestling holds. He wouldn't be able to do anything off the top rope. It was strictly, boxing. Arn Anderson, on the other hand, could use everything because he was not constricted to anything. He could use his wrestling moves. He could jump off the ropes. He could wrestle. So you would immediately assume that Arn Anderson would wipe the floor with Johnny B. Bad, only because Johnny B. Bad can't wrestle, he can only box. The exact opposite happens. Johnny B. Bad wipes the floor with Arn Anderson. He knocks him out, I think, in the 4th round. And yes, they have rounds. Arn Anderson was allowed to have breaks as a wrestler. Okay, so what has this match proven to us? Well, it has proven that not only can a boxer beat a wrestler at any given time, it has proven that our inferior wrestling product, oh my God. It pretty much, yeah, right there, my initial comment right there, that was all I needed. That all this match proved was boxing was better than wrestling. I don't. God damn it. This shit happened in '95. It's been well over 13 years. And I'm still pissed off about it. This... Really? Hell, oh my God, it's almost been 20 years. Jesus Christ. This shit happened almost 2 decades ago. And it still gives me a headache. Because this is wrestling. This is the mentality that we have in wrestling. And, again, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm setting up my camera and talking about this shit, because it's not like I'm working to change people's minds. If you like wrestling, you're going to like wrestling. I watch it. I can't stand it at times, but I watch it. It's just... I grew up with this shit. And, oh my God. So, moving on. Pardon me. The rest of the matches were just regular matches. I think they had like a triangle tag team match. They had like Randy Savage was against Avalanche. The main event was Hulk Hogan against Big Van Vader in a strap match. You talk about a fucked up finish on that one. Hogan wins the strap match by, I think Ric Flair had interfered. And somehow Vader had gotten unhooked from the strap. So Hogan strapped Ric Flair to the strap that Vader was hooked up to, dragged him around all 4 corners, and touched it. Because that's how you win a strap match. You have to drag your opponent to each corner and slap the corners in succession. But he tied Ric Flair up instead and dragged him to all four corners. He didn't drag Vader. But apparently the rules were the first person that touches the corners in succession. You didn't have to be dragging your opponent. So if you're ever involved in a strap match, remember that rule. Because you could have one of your friends outside the ring. When the bell rings, the match begins, they can sneak up behind your opponent, crack them on the head with a chair, take the strap off, hook it to their wrist, and proceed to help you get to all four corners. Remember that. Okay? If you're ever in wrestling and you really want to fuck things up, you really want people to scratch their heads, do that. It will probably get you fired, but it will bring up a good concept. Okay, so let's fast forward a year later, and Uncensored 96 was upon us, and they, well, it all began when the Four Horsemen, this was around the time Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, and I think Brian Pillman were involved with the Horsemen. And then Chris Benoit joined as well. Oops. Ooh. I said the taboo name. It's okay. I'm going to talk about Chris Benoit later, so it's all good. So anyway, you had the Horsemen, you had the Dungeon of Doom, as I explained in my last video, and they were both like fighting Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Like Randy Savage was involved in this big feud with Ric Flair, and Flair had actually done the unthinkable and convinced Miss Elizabeth to turn on Randy Savage. Amazingly enough. So for the first time in her career, Elizabeth was a heel. And her heel persona was really no different than her babyface persona. She just stood around the ring, looked pretty. She got to where she was like cheating, like distracting the ref or whatever, but it was no big deal. So Kevin Sullivan and all of his weirdos, they're fighting Hogan. Savage is fighting the Horsemen. They decide that the villains decide that they're gonna join forces here, because the Horsemen had been fighting the Dungeon of Doom. Like Chris Benoit and Kevin Sullivan were having these really great matches, these no holds barred matches where they'd fight in the bathroom. Really good stuff, and it was brought on by a lot of personal shit, because Benoit started seeing Nancy Sullivan, his wife, and it was just a whole big drama. And then, of course, the whole Brian Pillman saga happened, where he was supposed to wrestle Kevin Sullivan, I think, in a strap match. And right before the match begins, he gets in there, he grabs the microphone, and he goes, "I respect you, Booker, man," and he just leaves. And so, it's at that point that Flair and Arn Anderson, they come out the ring and like, "Look, we don't want to fight you guys anymore. We got no beef with you. Okay, we need to concentrate on the motherfucker that started all this, and that was Hulk Hogan. Woo!" I love Ric Flair. You know, it's been said by many people, I'll say it now. If half the WWE roster right now had the amount of passion and just love for this business that Ric Flair has, it would be a completely different company. Completely different business. Because Ric Flair, you knew every single night he went out there, whether it was like a 3-minute sketch with just him, like that's all he would get, or an hour-long Broadway where he was just wrestling his heart out. You knew you were getting the best of fucking Ric Flair. And he was just awesome. Everything he did was awesome. Because he just had that passion. He still does. I guarantee, we talk about this a lot, but Um, if Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes were to come on TV, come on our Monday Night Raw, and say, you know what? We're going to show these young punks how it's done. You and me, we're going to wrestle for a full hour on Raw. I guarantee Ric Flair at 60 years old and Dusty Rhodes at nearing almost 70, they would blow away anything these young guys have. I would pay money to see that match. If they were to announce it at a pay-per-view, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, one more time in that ring for 1 hour, you got me sold. I would watch that over and over again because those two guys had passion. They still have the passion. And that's something that's very rare nowadays. Off my tangent now. So, you have the Horsemen and the Dungeon of Doom who have united. You know, this would be like the equivalent of Skeletor, Cobra Commander, and like Mumra from the Thundercats joining forces. Like, all right, we're gonna kill those guys. Like, we all have enemies, but we have common enemies. We're gonna take out fucking G.I. Joe. We're gonna take all those guys out, and then we'll concentrate on everybody else. So this was like the Legion of Doom joining forces for the first time. So they're like, all right, we're gonna fucking kill Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. We're gonna end Hulkamania. In fact, that is their group name. The group name is called the Alliance to Destroy Hulkamania. Yeah. I'd love to see a t-shirt with that on it. I could probably make one. Make a lot of money too. But they decide that they challenge Hogan and Savage to what they call the first ever Doomsday Steel Cage. Now, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, it's so hard to do it without. Okay, this is the ring. Like this, here's your ring, and so the ring would have a cage. Like it would have a cage and then a roof. So here's the roof of the cage, and then you would take another cage, stack it on top of this cage, and make it 2 layers. So it's a 2-ring steel cage, but they're stacked on top. But that's not all. You would take another cage and put it on top of the second cage. So you have a 3-tier steel cage over a ring. And it's going to be Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage against 8 guys, I think it was. 8 or 10. So this is what the concept was. They didn't explain this until the very beginning of the match, but I'll explain it here, and then I'll give you my initial thoughts. Hogan and Savage were going to climb up to the top of the cage, of this triple stacked cage. And there was going to be 2 guys in the cage, up on top, fighting them. And throughout these roofs, there were going to be trap doors that Savage and Hogan had to get down into. And when they got to a second tier, there would be 2 other guys to fight. And once they got through the trap doors there would be other guys to fight. And then they finally get down to the ring, and I assume that they had to win by pinfall. I assume that. Again, they did not explain the rules. I can tell you who was in this match. I believe it was the Faces of Fear. They were on the very top of the level. Then you had Arn Anderson and shit. Arn Anderson was in there somewhere. It was Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Ming the Barbarian. Kevin Sullivan was in there. I know that. And God damn it, my memory. Probably Zodiac or Lex Luger. Lex Luger was in there, and because he's the big thing. So Luger was in this match too, and then right, of course, before the event itself, the Nitro before, they introduce their two secret weapons. And as Hogan and Savage are out there in the ring beating up everybody, their two secret weapons come down the ramp. One is this big, ginormous white dude with like camouflage pants, and the other dude is this big, hulking, bald, black, lazy-eyed motherfucker with a Z in his head. Oh yeah. They got Zeus to show up in WCW, but they didn't call him Zeus because they couldn't. They called him, and I'm not kidding, Z Gangsta. Yeah. Z Gangsta. Alright. The big tall dude was called the Ultimate Solution, if that means anything, which it doesn't. But, okay. I'm going to go off on another tangent here. This is the problem where you introduce a character or a wrestler who has already been established in another organization, and the problem is they can't call him that because of various copyrights. So you have Zeus, who is in a movie and in a prominent storyline with the WWF. And you decide, well, alright, Hogan's here in WCW now. Let's bring over Zeus. Oh, but wait, we can't call him Zeus. Oh, well then, we'll just call him, well, he has a Z in his head, so something with Z. Well, fuck it, we'll just say Z Gangsta. You know, like the Gangsta. We'll just call him Z Gangsta. I don't know if that's the reason why, but it's as good a reason as any. So, these are going to be the two secret weapons. And the match, they have the match. It blows, as you would expect. Because there's not much you can do in a triple steel cage. This was just an abortion. Just a fucking abortion. So, on the ending, oh! This is pretty much the icing on the shit cake that I have been talking to you people about for so long, and I apologize beforehand. So, I'll tell you how it was supposed to end, and then I'll tell you what happened. Okay. How it was supposed to end was Ric Flair gets a hold of Hogan, and he's holding him for Lex Luger to hit him with his bionic forearm, because Luger had been in a motorcycle accident years ago and had to get like a metal plate put into his arm, and for years he was using this metal plate to knock guys out with. In fact, that was like one of his big things in the WWF, where he first debuted and he was just nailing people with his forearm. Like, well, I think there's something wrong with that. Like, they actually made him like wear a cover on it a couple times. But so he's gonna hit Hogan with his forearm and knock him out with it. And so he rears back, like he bounces off the ropes. He goes flying towards him, and Hogan's supposed to duck out of the way. And Luger's supposed to nail Flair. And Flair's supposed to go down. Hogan and Savage are to pin him and then escape. That was what was supposed to happen. What did happen is far more enjoyable. Far more funny. Okay, so everything is set up just how I explained it. Flair has Hogan. Luger's bouncing off the ropes and ready to come at him. And I don't know if Luger was off cue or Hogan was off cue. All I know is Hogan drops down and Luger stops. Like, I'm not talking like he just slows down. He stops. Like, total brake check in the middle of the ring. And suddenly, he's like, oh, fuck. Like, he just ducked out of the way, and I'm standing here with my thumb up my ass. And so he says, well, fuck it. He leaps forward and hits Flair anyway. Okay. You know, Lex, you don't think maybe you could have, just did that spot over again? Just like stop what you did right there and like go after Hogan, pick him back up, have Flair hold him again, and then do the same spot a second time. I'm pretty sure the fans would have forgiven you. They would have seen as that, oh, well, they almost botched that, but hey, they corrected themselves. You gotta give them credit for that at least. No. Lex Luger looks like a complete twat standing there, and then just suddenly he hits Flair. And you knew the commentators, they were not prepared for that at all. And thank God, I think Bobby Heenan he covered this shit really well. Because I guarantee if it was just Schiavone there, he would have sold that shit like, oh, did you see that? Hogan ducked out of the way and Luger hit Flair by accident. No, Bobby Heenan, I think he even knew there was no way we could cover this. He's like, did you see that? Luger hesitated, and he hit Flair anyway. Like, there's problems. There's no way they could hide that. So they just went with it. They're like, oh, did you see that? Like, Luger hesitated, and he hit Flair. Like, maybe Kevin Sullivan told him to do that. Or, he felt like doing it. And it must have worked because the very next week, I think Lex Luger was a good guy. I think. It didn't take long, but yeah. There's your doomsday cage match. And thank Christ they never did this again. I don't know what WCW had with like multi-layered cages. They did this once before. They called it a Tower of Doom. But that one had like a tiny little box on top with another square cage followed by a bigger cage around the ring. Their obsession with multi-layered cages was fucking weird. But this would be the last stupid angle for a long time because This 96 was the year the NWO started, and that's when everything just kind of went more realistic. You know, they pretty much had disbanded the Dungeon of Doom. They got rid of the stupid gimmicks. The Yeti was nowhere to be found after his sodomizing of both Savage and Hogan. And, oh, by the way, Z Gangsta and the Ultimate Solution did, well, let's see. On a scale of 1 to 10, the amount of help that they gave the Alliance to destroy Hulkamania during the Doomsday Cage match ranked about, a jack point shit. Because they came out, they may have thrown 3 or 4 punches, and that was it. They disappeared after that. They weren't even in the ring. So yeah, and I guarantee you that Zeus received at least 6 figures on that show. To go out there, throw 4 punches, and then that's it. Easiest money in the world, man. I wish I could do that. But yeah. So there you go. Dungeon of Doom, Doomsday Cage. What a time to be a fan. I would talk more about WCW, but I do have a certain topic that I do want to get off my chest for the next one, so I'll probably do that one instead. So, yeah, this is fun stuff. Remembering this, getting a headache. You know, thank you to everybody that sticks with me on this stuff. I know I gotta sound just completely boring at times, but you know, if you've stuck with me this long, I thank you. You guys are the hardcore fans, and I just hope I entertain the shit out of you, because that's really what I'm about. So, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for supporting, and next time I will give what I like to call my State of Wrestling address, where I will talk about pretty much everything that pisses me off about wrestling right now. And this could be a multi-part video, because there's a lot that pisses me off. So, again, thank you for watching, thanks for the support, and I will see you later.